Let's do this again. Hello, hello. Let's start today's show. Okay, so I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. I have hands that aren't actually connected to my body. There. You could actually see my arms. Never mind. Anyway, this is the ohmTown Daily News Show for October 3rd, 2022. I've already selected all of the articles. I'm really sorry if you were in my chat when I had to bail out really quick. It is because I had a meeting that injected itself an hour and a half earlier, maybe an hour early than what they said they were going to do. So here we are again, starting over, and let's get into today's news. Yeah, there's going to be music playing, by the way, spooky music throughout this stream because it is Spooktober, and I want to set the atmosphere. I don't know if y'all can hear it. People could hear it in the chat the last time, but I don't want it too loud. At any rate, I'm going to go through the news. I've already gone through some of it, but I have to delete it all and start over from scratch, and that's how my workflow is. I won't go into, long diatribes about the news today. I think I'm just going to go through this real quick and let you all have your Mondays back. And thank you for hanging out, if you hang out. 1 second. There we go. So, this first article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel. Matt Gaetz is asking the government to fund Hurricane Ian disaster relief in Florida days after he voted against FEMA aid, and actually did it kind of in a intellectually dishonest way, backhandedly, saying that it's this whole anti-globalization, anti-society, anti-social. It's just regressive thinking. Quite the opposite of what has benefited the United States for its entire existence of expansive growth and capability. Previous expansive growth has been born by abuses of the humans in the United States. But nowadays, right, we all benefit from the plurality of society. Yet there's a lot of regressive people that think that we should be going back to the old days, and those old days are about oppressing certain people, right? I won't get into all of it, but it is, well, let's just say non-white people, non-Caucasians, suffered a great deal by this kind of regressive thinking of isolation, yet taking people and using them. And now we are paying people, but still they're being used. It's not even remotely comparable. But that's really where we are going. That's what is desired right now, because we've constitutionally made it impossible to enslave people again. But that's where we're headed. Keeping people oppressed by the rich, the politically connected, and using both of those and theological ideology to support it, embolden it, and make it beyond reproach, because you can't sit there and say that somebody is doing this, because then you are attacking their religion or the simple fact that they have money, and they can't be blamed for that. Matt Gaetz is one of those people. Hey, you can't give money to Ukraine because, well, we need it here at home for Florida relief, but don't give it to FEMA. Give it to somebody else. Oh, by the way, we would like it. Oh, and DeSantis says the same thing. Hey, I'm going to vote against supporting hurricane aid in New York, but we really need it here in Florida now. And instead of the population of Florida reading right past that BS and saying, we don't want antisocial people like you here. We want people that understand the plurality of the population makes us better as a whole. And yes, we do need money to repair the damage brought on by Hurricane Ian. And Florida can't swing that bat all by itself. So, yeah, the entire society should be able to provide some money through its taxes to Hurricane Ian relief. And when it happens in New York, we do it. And when it happens in North Carolina and South Carolina and Virginia, we do it. And when an earthquake happens in California, we do it again. And when a fire breaks out in Oregon, we do it again. And when something horrible happens in Washington State, we do it again. And when tornadoes go ripping through the breadbasket of the United States, we do it again. Why? Because we're a society and a plurality, and everybody should be willing and able and capable of doing two things: earning enough to make a living in whatever job that they are doing, and paying their taxes, and not bitching about paying their taxes, because we as a society and a plurality are benefiting from everybody engaged, everybody having opportunity. But that's not what regressives want. That's not what these anti-globalist, anti-social people want. What they want is power and control over them to support everything that they want, but they want to control them, those people, keep them away. All of this screams antisocial, and I say it pretty much once every episode, every time I stream. It's sociopathy, and I think that it is born primarily by lead paint. Not just lead paint, but anyway, it is a progressive issue, and by progressive I mean it's an issue that started in the 70s and persists today, because you can't get rid of it yet. But the youngest generation right now is more immune to this sociopathic thinking, because they haven't had the issues, the environmental issues that were born in the 60s, 70s, 80s. We can continue to talk about this more, but let's get on with this article. I didn't throw it in this stream, but I'll throw it in now into chat now. So there you go. So I'm going to pause this. This is an article by Cheryl Tay over at businessinsider.com. And again, it's titled, Matt Gaetz is asking for government to fund Hurricane Ian disaster relief in Florida days after he voted against FEMA aid. And he did this weird tweet that's just this backhanded, like, oh, just give us some of what you're giving to Ukraine. Gaetz was among 201 Republicans who voted no to a bill that carved out cash for FEMA. If you're not familiar with FEMA, it's Federal Emergency Management Agency. Ian was a Category 4 storm when it made landfall and pummeled the Florida coast. It basically dissipated really fast, and now is just kind of a bad storm rolling up a pretty thick portion of the east coast of the United States. But his doofy little comment that, I hope nobody, 32,900 people hearted it. How stupid. Dear Congress, on behalf of my fellow Florida man, yeah, you're definitely a Florida man, in grave need of assistance. I just imagine trying to take hold of that phrase when it's a meme on the internet about Florida man, because whenever you hear about some weird thing or criminal offense, they say Florida man because they don't allow anybody to report on the name until they're convicted, and then pretty much all hell can break loose. But anyway, just send us like half of what you sent Ukraine, signed your fellow Americans, Gates wrote on Twitter regarding this. Hey, you know what? If you focus things a little bit better, you'd probably have more money. I don't know, the military-industrial complex gets a ton of money. It's going to Ukraine to stop an invasion of a democratic country. And I know that you have a problem with democracy, so I'm not surprised by you wanting to hobble the effort to try and prevent what will end up being Russia putting the band back together by hostile forces. Yeah, I'm not surprised there, Gates. I know that you have a lot more free time because people are watching you and you can't... Well, we'll just leave it there. Gates' appeal for funding came 2 days after he and 200 other Republicans voted against a stopgap measure that sought to fund the government through December. Among other provisions, the bill also gave $18.8 billion of FEMA disaster relief fund, so he wanted to stop that as well, and $12 billion in aid for Ukraine and $112 million to beef up security at federal courts. Yeah, because wingnuts are trying to invade it. Yeah, there's more over there at that article at Business Insider. I urge you to go and check it out. The next article, though, is that a skin swab test could potentially detect Parkinson's. I'm sure Gates is against this, too. Anything that might save lives and anything that might prevent the overthrow of the federal government and anything that might keep the government open and operating, his job. He'll get paid, by the way. If the government shuts down, he will continue to get paid. But thousands of civil servants won't. Contract workers will stop. All kinds of stuff will happen. Only essential personnel will be working, and they don't get paid. They continue to work out of the kindness of their own heart. They could choose to leave, but they will not be able to return. Anyway, this article, skin swab test could potentially detect Parkinson's disease, is pretty amazing in a discovery that basically focuses on the oil that seeps from your fingers and skin, referred to as sebum, is an oily substance that the skin secretes naturally and pretty much continuously. That's where your fingerprints are actually picked up from. We can dust for prints, right? That's what it's referred to as. And we could, depending on the quality of it, it can be used for bypassing fingerprint sensors if you're skilled in the art. So study results suggested that the molecular makeup of sebum in Parkinson's patients may be different enough to detect from a simple skin swab, which I think is spectacular. This is an article over at The Hill by Chia-Yi Hao. And it says, previous research suggests that potential ability to detect differences in types of sebum, the oily wax substance produced by your skin. In people with Parkinson's disease, in particular, it might be enough of a chemical makeup difference to detect the different fats and metabolites using mass spectrometry. This is something that I've actually been looking into for a different use, a different purpose. But mass spec and gas spectrometry is gas chromatograph and mass spectrometry work together, and you can basically identify chemicals, the makeup of something. And I think this is great, a technique that scientists use to identify molecules. Scientists pursued this line of thinking from observing Joy Milne, who can distinguish PD in individuals from a distinct body odor before clinical symptoms occur. According to a press release, Milne has a heightened sense of smell and was able to detect a difference in sebum that collects on the upper back of patients, which is gross but amazing. What a skill. I don't know how you discover that. I have a skill that affords me the ability to detect a person who is even in full makeup and acting like somebody else. I can tell who they are from their microtells, even within makeup, and people find it quite fascinating to do. So I've done it with people, complete strangers I've never seen before. I can watch a video of them, and then I can watch them in action somewhere, wherever it might be, with, again, like I said, full makeup, and I'll be able to detect who they are. It's quite interesting. But this is spectacular because it goes beyond the appearance of something, the simple smell that somebody might have. The sebum is transferred to filter paper from sampling swab, and then they cut it into a triangle and drop some solvent on it and apply a voltage, and it transfers the compounds from the sebum into a mass spec. And then when they do that, they find more than 4,000 unique compounds, of which 500 are different between people with PD compared to control participants. This alone is spectacular, and I hope that it actually stands out. I would love to do this. So there was somebody in my family that had Parkinson's later in life, and I would love to find out if maybe I too, or somebody else, and who knows when it actually becomes apparent. But I would love to actually do a longitudinal study of this. And so I'm probably going to reach out to them and ask, hey, do you want to do something for the course of about 20 years? We'll see. The authors say that further work is necessary to understand how this kind of test could be used for diagnosis and clinical purposes, but this proof of concept is a step in that direction. Yeah, because right now it's all external, observing how somebody moves, how somebody might grip something, pretty much nearly it's nearly impossible to detect it until the symptoms are so gross that it becomes obvious that you have Parkinson's, which is a real shame. This next article is DARPA launches a new program to let small innovators behind the classified curtain. If you're not familiar with FAR or DFARS and other government contracting, I actually intend to launch a show. I don't do much government contracting, but I am, because of what I do, I end up on both sides of the fence from time to time. And I think that the public really doesn't understand FAR or government contracting in general. And they have a marketing perspective, and it's always poor marketing. It's how people complain about this or that or the other, and how expensive it is and whatnot. It's a thing. And so I actually have a channel called FAR Weekly that focuses on this. Well, DARPA launches a new program to let small innovators behind the classified curtain. There's always been a problem that you have to be a larger contractor, or you have to be supremely specialized to get classified work, be a classified entity within the government. You actually usually have to have a larger organization pitch you as needing to get classified status. And so it's much more difficult for somebody in a small business to do that. So it says, for a lot of would-be defense contractors, the world of classified contracts is a bit of a catch-22. You can't get classified work without a security clearance. You can't get a security clearance without a contract that demands classified work. That's identical to what I had when I was growing up. To get a car, you had to get to a job, but to get to a job, you had to have a car because you were too far away to walk to a job, or there weren't buses that would get you there in time in a reliable way. I mean, if you have to work in 2 hours, then yeah, you could take a bus. That said, not everybody suffers from that same thing, but small businesses, individual contractors who are hanging their shingle, entrepreneurs in particular, if they don't have any classified demands, they can never be classified. So that security clearance is a gateway to doing some amazing work. People in cybersecurity basically can't do any federal government contracting until they get clearance, security clearance. And it's very tough to do that. You have to get a gig with some company that says, yeah, you're cool, let's do this. And they pay a lot to do a thorough background check. There's a document called SF-86 that if you become a civil servant, the government pursues this massive background search. And then beyond that, there is security clearances where they do more, and there's greater audits of you and stuff. It largely doesn't get talked about outside of government circles. So let's just talk about this. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, the same organization that funded the creation of the fundamental research that led to Google, is DARPA. And they have an initiative called Bridges. And I forgot off the top of my head what it stands for. Bringing classified innovation to defense and government systems. Somebody worked really hard to make this spell Bridges. And it acts as a bridge for small businesses to obtain classified work, security clearance at the enterprise level or small business level. And I refer to any business as an enterprise. So the basic idea is to give small firms a chance to show they've got the technical acumen or creativity to solve the sorts of problems that DARPA is working on in a classified arena. So it says if it looks like the answer is yes, the agency itself will sponsor them for a security clearance. Now I can imagine that this is going to get just crushed under the small businesses, because a lot of people who are creative, are technically savvy, are gig workers that can make hundreds of thousands of dollars working by themselves or in small teams put together by their own need for a particular solution. Like right now, I am trying to hire somebody to do some programming for me because the technical sophistication of it is beyond me, and I don't really have the time to sit there and learn to ramp up my skill set to that level. And I have no problem working with people internationally, anywhere really, as long as they are trustworthy and they're not working for, let's just say hostile locations. At any rate, Greg Cooperman, the DARPA program manager heading the Bridges effort, said that it sprang from a recognition that an extremely sizable percentage of the U.S. innovation base could, in theory, be figuring out answers to the agency's toughest research and development problems, but cut out of the process because they can't get clearance. And actually, to get any contract, you actually have to get a contract on your own. You either have to be politically connected, or you have to have past performance. And the only way you can get that past performance is by working as a sub for somebody who has a government contract. And you have to facilitate that past performance in a positive way. Otherwise, if that parent company that has the contract and gave you a chance at the apple as a sub, and everybody screws up, then that past performance of bad performance will continue on with you during the evaluation of any proposals that you might pursue. It says they're new startups, really passionate folks, but they're not DoD companies. And the challenge is, this person is quoting this, I can't even express to them what our problem is so they can go think about it because it's classified, Cooperman said in an interview. We've been kind of dancing around this for over a year, and finally I said there's got to be a better way. And the mechanics of Bridges is basically about that. So it's a neat idea. It's one that I would, in private conversations, it's identical to something that to what I have been talking about. But I'm not taking credit for this. I'm basically saying the same thing that I said about this whole issue with the electoral process. Almost a decade ago, I started talking to people about it. How do you impugn the integrity of society in America? How do you break it up? How do you cause a problem? And how do you mitigate it? And I said to the people that I've been talking to for a decade, and it's different people, mind you, I'd say thousands of people at this point. I said that you can disrupt the electoral process, and that's how you would mess up society in the United States. And sure enough, several years later, you end up with where we are. This is the same thing. DARPA has been hobbled by the idea that you could only work with defense contractors, but it's tough to become a defense contractor. You have to buy the car before you can get a job that pays for the car, and you can't even get credit to buy the car. So this is quite a change. I think that the federal acquisition rules should be changed, or regulation should be changed to allow for a greater ability of individuals to submit to a potential government contract. But larger corporations always seem to win, unless they're politically connected. Again, that's the big shame. Let's move on to the next article. Senate pulls SBIR back from the brink of sunsetting. And this is slightly different than the last one. It's a different program. And pardon me one second. The Small Business and Entrepreneurship Chairman Senator Ben Cardin, who is a Democrat of Maryland, introduced and the full body passed the SBIR and STTR Extension Act of 2022. This program was supposed to shut down, but thankfully it did not. It's the Small Business Innovation Research Program, and goes hand in hand with the DARPA Bridges program. So this would actually afford small businesses to get awards. It says, since January, the possibility of the program shutdowns has loomed over the operations of innovative small businesses and federal agencies and clouded their future. Yesterday's, and this is actually Wednesday last week, the Senate voted to take the steps necessary to keep the SBIR and STTR extension underway, and now I guess it's going to persist a little bit longer. So this article, the last article was by Jared Serbu over at the federalnewsnetwork.com, and this one is from Jason Miller over at federalnewsnetwork.com. The House is expected to take up the Senate's bill on September 28th, and they actually voted already, I think, like I said, Wednesday last week, and it will be an ongoing thing. Dun, dun, dun. This was also hinging on the government not shutting down, which again, only sociopaths. The government cannot fail. It is not a small business. It shouldn't be run like a small business. There is no profit motive. The whole motive is actually to be break even off of taxes every single year so that you can keep on paying the next year, the next year, the next year. The government does so much invisible work that only sociopaths think that the government should shut down. It's not spending too much. It's spending based on the amount of taxes that come into the coffers, and you get the biggest bang for your buck. And when you hear stories about something, there's always additional context, or there's abuse and it should be stomped out. Why not pursue the abuse, but not blame the entirety of government as being bad? Again, you might as well start talking about movie metaphors and go, only the Sith speak in absolutes. It isn't always the problem that the entirety of an entity is bad. And the government is willing to take steps to stop abuse, but you have to allow for whistleblowers to actually solve the problem. Why? Because the moment you shine a light on something that's happening behind closed doors and abusive, and that's where I think it always happens, when there's nepotism and cliques and closed backroom deals and all of this kind of buddy crap that takes place in every single enterprise, a whistleblower needs to pop up, and you need to protect the whistleblowers. And it's happened before, but it's always the abuser comes out and says, I want to know the name of the whistleblower, and then suddenly it gets leaked. We need greater whistleblower protections to stop abuse. That's how you change the dynamic. That's how you stop government abuse. That's how you stop enterprise, private industry abuses. Protect the people that are going to be abused. Well, let's move on to the next article, because we're not going to spend a lot of time up on the soapbox. But really talking about this stuff is what the stream really is all about. Apple CEO Tim Cook doesn't like the metaverse. He predicts a different technology will shape the future. I'm glad that they are still talking about it. I like that Apple is talking about it. Tim Cook is questioning the excitement over the metaverse and virtual reality, but the CEO is a big fan of augmented reality. So here's why. And the article is over at CNBC, and Tom Huddleston Jr., I have not stayed hydrated all day, so I'm coughing. I think that is actually what makes me cough. And anyway, so the Apple CEO, Tim Cook, is into AR, and I agree. VR is not where the future is. VR is for entertainment and in closed doors. The greater preponderance of everything that Apple does is largely entertaining indoors for brief periods and then telling you to go and touch grass. And AR will facilitate that and inform at the same time. So imagine you have an iPhone, Apple Watch, your iPad, and Apple AR glasses, where you can look at your iPad and information is superimposed on your glasses, so that when you look around your room, you actually are interacting with something in augmented reality space. You can actually go outside and information is projected by, and by that I mean sent from your Apple Watch or your phone to your glasses, so that you get information and all of the computing resources are actually somewhere else. It's just throwing the data onto your screen, and your glasses are your screen. So you have a portable monitor. And depending on the mechanism at the heart of Apple AR glasses, you will either have a full range of information from one side of the lens to the other. Not sure how it'll work out. Or a small window of information, but it will be as big as a 65-inch screen 8 feet away. Why? Because that's what perspective is. You actually have arc seconds of perception. It's not just a cylinder of observation. You can see out to the sides. I mean, I can see my hands right here, and they're parallel to the sides of like my ears, I can see out. It really is a perspective. So you have a whole, 100, let's just call it 180 degree arc, is probably around 120, or 160. At any rate, AR is where it's at, because you can go more places in AR than you can in VR. You're actually simply superimposing the VR world into the real world space. And you can't go to a store in VR without heavy computing and metaverse, which I really don't want Meta and Facebook attached to the term. The metaverse is not Meta. It is not Facebook. It is not Zuckerberg. I want that word excised from any type of branding by that company, that personality. The metaverse is bigger than that, and it shouldn't be able to get trademarked, or I don't know how to say it. It's being stolen. It's being annexed. And I really don't like it. Anyway, the Apple CEO says, I always think it's important that people understand what something is, and I'm really not sure the average person can tell you what the metaverse is. I agree. Because the metaverse doesn't really exist. It's little plots of digital land that really don't have anything high resolution or approachable. It's not engaged. in any way, in anybody's psyche. You don't come home and yearn to get into the metaverse unless you're making some serious change. And then it's basically NFTs, where, you know, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, is driving people to want to be in the metaverse. But it's early adopters and people that are into it, but they're into it probably for a financial perspective and not because they actually see the future being metaverse. It's just not there yet. It's like EVs. We're not at the point where the whole world will adopt EVs. Hell, well, I won't get into it. That's too tertiary to our discussion. But so Cook is also a big proponent of AR, and Apple is reportedly developing AR/VR headset that could hit the market in 2023, according to Bloomberg. The future of AR, quote, will go much, much further than, end quote, than today's applications, Cook told Bright on Friday. I think AR, again, another quote, I think AR is a profound technology that will affect everything. Imagine suddenly being able to teach with AR and demonstrate things that way, or medically and so on. Like I said, we are really going to look back and think about how we once lived without AR. Apple is going to focus on AR. We might as well just chop VR out of it, because AR is where they're focusing. They are very passionate about people getting out of the house or providing information in an unobtrusive way. And they want it to permeate a person's life. That's why you always have your watch on you. That's why you always have your iPhone on you. That's why you have your iPad. Now it'll be an AR glass set. You'll be able to, I guarantee it, you'll be able to swap out the lenses so that you can have your prescription, but the tech will still be able to work within it. But we'll see. We'll end up seeing what this actually becomes in the coming years. I'd say in 2023, we'll see AR from Apple. The next article, and we're about halfway through with today's show. If you're in my chat, thank you for coming. If you have any questions or comments, want to know about the show, or want to know about some other article that is out there, feel free to throw something in chat. I can vamp for a little bit, but I would like to get through the news today. RPG Maker Unite details platform builds and workflow. Gotcha Games provided new details on RPG Maker Unite, the latest upcoming entry in the RPG Maker Developer Suite series. Its latest update revealed that RPG Maker Unite will officially support builds on Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and WebGL, with the Unity editor ensuring that games created will be readily optimized for smartphones. Builds to other platforms and environments will be dependent on the user's personal Unity editor environment and contracts with relevant manufacturers. So this really is what I want to draw attention to, is that it'll be able to do things in Unity editor, which is quite a big change from what it was before. So let's click this link. Alex Fuller is the author of this article over at rpgamer.com. And it says here, RPG Maker Unite is currently planned for release, on PC and Mac later this year, and is available to wish list now on Steam. It is the first entry in the series to utilize the Unity engine. As well as other entries, it will come with its own library of assets and pre-made database to help players create their own games. And it's called RPG Maker for a reason. And Unite is because it's switching to Unity. Now, that's pretty much it for the article. In terms of additional information, there's little bits and some pictures. I would, again, urge you to go over. I always urge you to go over and click the links. In the order of the grape is Applebee's $6 Spooky Sips are back with 2 new boozy Halloween drinks. It's not Halloween without Applebee's seasonal drinks. I think yesterday or the day before I talked about all you can eat over at Applebee's is coming back and changing, more expensive. and still I think a loss leader. I don't know how they're actually funding this without going wildly into debt. But at any rate, drinks are where the money is. It's really a low price at $6 for these spooky sips. Dracula's Juice and Tipsy Zombie are available until the end of October at participating restaurants nationwide, according to an October 3rd press release. Tipsy Zombie is a neon green and blue gradient, combines Bacardi Superior with passion fruit, pineapple, cherry, and lime flavors. The drink is topped off with melon liqueur and a gummy brain. The frozen Dracula's Juice mixes up Patron Silver and Bacardi Superior in a sweet berry concoction. Both cocktails are served in Applebee's iconic 18-ounce Mucho glass. Let's take a look. Pardon me. Pro tip for living. You can't inhale saliva. Okay, sorry. Probably shouldn't have said that. Vinepair.com is the source of this. Nicolette Baker is the wordsmith. So blame Boozy on Nicolette Baker. Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar is the one that provided the photography. And let's see if there's anything else in here. This isn't the first year that Dracula's Juice and Tipsy Zombie have crept into the Applebee's menu during spooky season. The two boozy flavors have landed on the October promotional drinks list for the past several years. They end the article with sweet spiked sips for $6. The deal is all treats, no tricks. Except that you have to go to Applebee's. The next article. Oh, wait. I forgot to throw this into the chat, folks. Let's do that. And let's do that. And there we go. How a detailer deep cleans a filthy car. This is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. GT Detailing owner Gabe Tyler transforms a stained, trash-filled Ford Escape to look brand new. Cleaning from top to bottom can help avoid cleaning the same area twice. Steam cleaners help remelt previously melted candy and chocolate for easier cleanup. And there is a whole thing here over at the site. I saw this before I actually saw this. It's weird. But anyway, and I just found out that my camera is messed up too. So How a Detailer Deep Cleans a Filthy Car is a title over at businessinsider.com, and it's written by Melissa Estrada. And there is a whole video here. It's only 2 minutes and 45 seconds. But it's GT Detailing owner Gabe Tyler transforms a stained, trash-filled Ford Escape. Cleaning from the top to the bottom helps avoid cleaning the same area twice. And you can use a steam cleaner. Now, this car is absolutely disgusting. I'll show you little shots of it. So this actually isn't the worst car that I've seen getting detailed. So there's stuff like this, and the seats are disgusting and water stained, and there's all kinds of, I don't know, just gross throughout. Stuff inside the door handles, and it's just really gross, right? The thing that surprised me the most about this car dealing thing is the amount of water that's being used is substantially more than the amount of water that has ever entered any car that I've ever had in my entire life. And I used to swab out cars a lot, and man, this is just, it's wild how much water is being used. So the author here says the detail started by removing stained seats and floor mats, and Gabe evaluates whether the seats need to be removed depending on any stains under the seat or between the center console. Once the floor is exposed, Gabe separated the trash and customers' personal belongings. I don't know how they could do that. Using his hand to remove the bigger items and a vacuum to clean up any leftover trash. And then he cleaned the door jambs with a degreaser and a brush. Again, you have to go over there and watch this video. It is shocking how much water seems to get thrown into this vehicle. I mean, it's amazing. So they continue on, and it's kind of a script of what they do. But at the end of the day, it is a picture-perfect clean car and probably smells nearly new. But there's only one new car smell and it can't be simulated, at least not in my book. And then the final article for today is the Trevor Project, which cuts ties with student surveillance software after online backlash. The Trevor Project, a nonprofit that provides crisis support for LGBTQ plus youth, will cut ties with student-focused monitoring software company Gaggle after the partnership sparked backlash. I combined sparked and backlash to spacked. Sparked back. I'm so sorry. Barklash. Oh my God. Then I flipped it the other way. Anyway, sparked backlash from activists. The organization began listing Gaggle as a corporate partner on its website in May, according to a report from the 74, and took what's since been confirmed as a $25,000 donation. And Gaggle has the Trevor Project listed as a resource for LGBTQ students in multiple areas. So this is an article by The Verge, and Monica Chin is the author. And Gaggle makes and markets software products purporting to, quote, review students' online behavior. That's actually an underline, but I put quotes. In school-issued accounts and using machine learning technology flag, quote, concerning content for their districts. Items that its products can monitor per Gaggle's website include everything from email subject lines and attachments to items shared through Google Drive and OneDrive, as well as messages and discussion posts in Canvas. Yesterday, I talked about how privacy is a fundamental aspect of a person's life. Privacy should persist even in school. If somebody is going to cheat somewhere, they are going to cheat. But getting caught by monitoring them in a dystopian way makes a person oppressed, not just caught cheating, but oppressed. It's a completely different characterization of existence when you're in school. You become completely afraid to do anything anywhere, good or bad. It doesn't matter. Previous reporting has raised concerns about the keywords that Gaggle can flag. The software has been accused of labeling words related to sexual orientation, including gay and lesbian, as harmful content and outing LGBTQ students. And my problem here is, just like with businesses, you can never say anything personal if you are in an enterprise. You can barely say anything personal when you're outside, as it is. A lot of people just post whatever they want in various places, but at some point, if the wrong people become emboldened to pursue, you will be crushed by the things that they find about you. And it's really quite easy. Your ISP can expose you for going to quote unquote questionable websites. Reading a book that's on a banned list might get some kind of outrage in some, town out in the sticks somewhere. Even me saying that can get me in trouble. The simple fact is that in anything but the privacy of your own home, even if it exits by the internet and comes back in through the internet, if it's in the privacy of your own home, that's the only place that you can remain private. If you record it and post it outside, you can get in trouble. If you say something to somebody and they leave, you can get in trouble. If you have some type of student account and you say something private, it can be read because you aren't in control of that. Now, backlash will come to that enterprise if they utilize it in some harmful way. And that's what Gaggle is. I think that it is oppressive. It is dystopian. It's creepy that it's monitoring. Even if it is artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's still flagging it and being viewed by a human. And it can be abused because there are people out there, including law enforcement and co-workers in the enterprise, wherever the enterprise is, that if they have the authority to abuse the power, there are some people that will abuse it. And there's no way to know until they get caught. And I would rather take the other route. It's the same reason why I don't agree with the death penalty. One wrong death penalty should not be answered with, well, we generally get it right. Because you can't undo it. And no amount of money can compensate somebody for the loss of affection and the future potential of somebody who is incorrectly given the death penalty. It's the same as this. Nothing can repay somebody for the invasion of their privacy or the disclosure that they might be gay or lesbian. I think that stuff like this should be outlawed. Monitoring somebody with their camera should be outlawed. And if it's a camera, then it could also be audio. But that's state issues. Each state has its own issues regarding audio recording. I can record somebody video committing a crime, but if the audio is recorded, then suddenly it becomes a violation in a state, whatever the state might be, which I think is absurd. All that does is allow for plausible deniability of the statement that was made. Right? So really it comes down to what was the purpose of the recording. That's the context. There's more that we can discuss about this, but let's move on. So Gaggle did not respond to a request for comment at press time, but told the 74 that it saw the partnership as a learning opportunity. Yeah, I just don't agree that this should be in place anywhere, because it has the potential to ruin people's lives. And in my area of practice, this pops up quite a bit. This oppressive, dystopian surveillance state. And we had a conversation about it day before yesterday. Big brother is government, little sister is corporate. Little sister knows quite a bit about big brother. So, and everybody else. I'm just saying that businesses are the ones that are capitalizing on your personal information. Government doesn't care. As long as you're not seeking to cause great harm or harm, it doesn't care. It only cares as soon as you get to, like, you know, the Congress critter type of level of abuse. And then suddenly it becomes a privacy issue. But at any rate, that's it for today's ohmTown Daily News Show. I am Mayor Watt. And please go over to ohmTown, become a citizen, hang out here, click the follow button, go over to YouTube and click the follow button there, ring the bell. That's what everybody says. Follow me so that goal actually gets to 100. That would be great. I'd love to have more people in chat. It is an objective. I mean, let's be real. I would like to do this more. Yeah, I love engagement. I love people talking, and it would be great to see you and actually chat with you. So come on by. Energy wise, I got a lot, but it gets more when there are more people having a chat. I'd love to do this for 8 hours a day or longer. I mean, it's in here, just needs to be unlocked. Okay, y'all. Thank you very much for coming. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.